As I mentioned, I'm so proud to be here today. I'm so happy to be in a gathering like this, a beautiful gathering like this, and all of us here, we're here for one purpose. And we all know what purpose that is, and that is to remember our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza. Every single one of us here knows exactly what's going on. No matter how much they want to hide it from us, no matter how much they want to brainwash us by social media, or no matter how much they want to make us see who the enemies are, at the end of the day, we know who the real enemies are. And if some of us don't know, and that's why you're here, to understand and acknowledge who the real enemies are, and what we can do as Muslims, as one ummah, to spread the awareness of who the real enemies are. You see, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, currently, if I'm not mistaken, in the next few days, about 2.3 million Muslims, your brothers and sisters, Muslims in Gaza, will be annihilated, destroyed, killed in vain. In the next couple of days, God forbid, may Allah protect them. In the next couple of days, 2.3 million Muslims will be annihilated. And what they want to do is that they want to ethnic cleanse the entire population, starting from Gaza. 2 million Muslims, young children, young babies, and innocent people, for no reason. What's the reason? Just because they wanted to protect their land, they wanted to protect their people, they wanted to protect their children. Because of that, they were being slaughtered and killed and tortured. The question arises, so what are you and I doing about it? What are you doing about it? Very beautifully, the Prophet ﷺ, he says what in a hadith, that al-Muslim kal-Muslim kal-Jasad, that the ummah, that the Muslims, the believer, is like one body. It's like one body. If one part of the ummah hurts, then the entire ummah should feel that pain. Meaning that if our brothers and sisters are being tortured and killed and massacred, innocent babies, look around, you see it's innocent children over here, little babies, 5, 6, 7, 10 years old. There are thousands of them in Gaza right now that are being bombed and killed for no reason. No reason. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the ummah, that the Muslims should be like one body. That if a part of the ummah is hurting, meaning if somewhere out there your brothers and sisters are being in pain and tortured, then you should also feel that pain and you should try your best to do something about it. But look at the ummah today. Look at the Muslims today. You know, I was just speaking to a few of my students a few days ago, right? And one of my students, just randomly, while I was listening to their lesson, I asked him, his mom actually notified me. And she told me that she showed a video of Palestine, some sad video, to that student. So I asked that student, so what did you do when you saw that video? What was your response? What did you do? And that student said, Ustaz, I mean, what do you mean? I didn't say anything. What do you want me to say? There's nothing to say. So when I heard this response, my blood was boiling. I was extremely angry. What do you mean you didn't say nothing? You could have said something that I feel bad for I feel bad for the people of Palestine. Oh mom, we should at least make dua. Let's make dua today, special dua, no matter how busy we are. Or mom, let's do something about them. But that student said nothing. And then I told him, you see how the social media and the Zionist people are brainwashing you? This is exactly what they wanted to do. That they wanted the Muslims that's living in the West, in New York, California, all the entire America, they want the Muslims in America to completely forget about Palestine, to completely forget about Masjid al-Aqsa. That the first Qibla in Islamic history was Masjid al-Aqsa, that's in Palestine. And all of us know about Mecca and Medina. That is the most holiest place, and the most dearest place to us. But many of us don't understand that one of the holiest places to us as Muslims is also Masjid al-Aqsa. And we need to understand that this is not a fight or a war just for the Palestinians, just for the Muslims there. But this is a fight and an understanding for every single person that carries La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and is a Muslim. But it is your job to spread this awareness. What is going on? So when I told him, when he told me that he didn't say nothing, I told him that's exactly what the Israelites and Zionists want you to do. They want you to forget about Palestine. They want you to forget that they ever existed. They want you to forget that they were never there. Just like how they killed 1 million Muslims because they lied that they had some issues or current affairs, or they were terrorists in there, or they had bombs or something, or mass destruction. Because of that, those lies, 1 million Muslims died in Iraq. And they're trying to do the same thing with your and our brothers and sisters in Palestine. But you know what's the saddest thing? It's not that. Because we will never feel what they're going through. You and I are going to go home and probably go back on our phones and text and DM and play games. But at the end of the day, we will never feel their pain. You know, once I've seen one of these videos, I've seen a father, overnight, one night, his entire family, his cousins, his aunts, his children, everyone was living in a building. It was 40 of them. His entire family, after one night, entire family killed, destroyed, massacred. And you know what's his response? His response was that I wish I was with them. I wish I was one of them that died, because I want to be resurrected and stand. I want to be reunited with my family in Jannah. This is the level of faith that they have. You and I, you call ourselves Muslims. When they see death, they see Jannah. When they see death in their eyes, they see meeting the Prophet ﷺ in Jannah. They see meeting Allah. But when you and I see death, we get scared. We think about other things. We think about what's going to happen to my house, what's going to happen to my money. That's the difference between us and them over there. It's not about poverty. It's not about the lifestyle that we're living. It's about the level of faith that they have. That they're ready to die for the sake of Allah, because they know that over there, every single one of them is in a win-win situation. There is no losing when you're Muslim. There is no losing, because the final victory is with the Muslims. The final victory is with the Muslims. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they know that if they die by getting killed or massacred, they go straight to Jannah. And if they give their life for the sake of Allah and they fight for their land, they go straight to Jannah as well. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says what? That the reward of a martyr is what? That when you die in the cause of Allah, meaning you try to fight for your land, you're fighting to protect your land, or you're fighting to protect your innocent children, or you're fighting to protect the people you love, and you die in that path, Allah says before the first drop of blood falls on the floor, Allah already granted that person Jannah. No question asked. So you and I sitting here shouldn't feel sorry for them. You should be worried for yourself. You know why? Because 54 countries, 54 Muslim countries, and not a single one of them are saying anything about it. Our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine are dying, are being and being massacred, bloodshed. Their bodies being displaced. 54 Muslim countries, and not a single one of them are saying anything because they're scared of the West. And they're scared they might lose their connections. But you know what I would be scared of? I would be scared of the day when I stand in front of Allah and all those Palestinian Muslims that died, and they stand before you on the day of judgment, and they tell Allah, oh Allah, these are our brothers and sisters that they heard that we were suffering, they knew we were suffering, they knew we were going through so many pain, and they just sat down and didn't do nothing about it, and they acted like nothing happened, and they turned our back on us. These are the same people, my dear brothers. These are the same people, these Palestinians. You will see, history will repeat itself, I promise you. The reason why we're here, my dear brothers, is not because to say free Palestine. It's not because to talk about Palestine or anything. But it's to understand what is going on and what are you doing about it. You know, ask yourself right now, all of us here, since the genocide and thousands of Muslims in Gaza that are dying for the past few days, since the incident that was happening and occurring, it's been almost a week, I believe. How many of you guys over here genuinely after any salah or after or before going to sleep, just raise your hand up and from the heart, make dua for your brothers and sisters in Gaza and your brothers and sisters that were suffering in Palestine, that is suffering in Palestine. How many of you guys raised your hand and just took out 5 minutes from your life, 5 minutes to remember them and make dua for them? It's a rhetorical question, something for you to ask yourself. And if the answer is no, if the answer is I didn't, then you ask yourself, what type of Muslim are you? All these Muslim celebrities and human activists that talk so much about Islam, I call out even the Islamic leaders in New York City. All the imams, the Islamic leaders, and the scholars that are scared to speak about the sad incidents in our brothers and sisters in Gaza, that are scared to speak about it because they might get shut down or canceled, I call them out too. That you are the most filthiest Muslim that I ever can witness. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he says what? He says that none of us are true Muslims. None of you guys, no matter if you pray 5 times a day, no matter if you do all the good deeds, the Prophet of Allah, he said himself that none of you guys, none of you is true believers. None of you are a true believer until you love for your Muslim brothers what you love for yourself. So that means that if your Muslim brothers over there are suffering and you're sitting here just swiping the video or liking it and then you go on with your day, having a good day, then you're not a true believer. And that's exactly what some of us are doing. And the problem is that it is our faith that's the reason why we're doing this. That we're so caught up with this world. And being a Muslim is a joke to us nowadays. I mentioned beautifully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listen to this. Listen to this. Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That Allah will not change the status of the ummah, meaning Allah will not help the people of Palestine or any Muslims that are suffering until you and I change the condition of our lives. Meaning, if you and I are seeing the oppression that's going on in Gaza, and you're still smoking, you're still drinking, you're still talking to girls, you're still not praying, and you're still not reading Quran, and you have absolute no care about Islam, then Allah will say that it was because of people like you that the people of Gaza were oppressed. And you will stand up for that. That is what the Prophet ﷺ, he says what? That we are like one body. Everybody sins and everybody is a sinner. I accept that. But there's a difference in between someone who sins and feels bad and asks forgiveness from Allah and tries his best to change. And that change is between you and Allah. And there's a difference when you keep on sinning until your heart becomes black and you can't feel anything anymore and you're numb and you just don't care until you're on your last moments in your life and you just die with regret. And most of us are living that type of life, that we become numb. You know why we don't feel anything when we watch these videos? You know why we don't remember the brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine? You know why? Because we've become numb. We've become immune. Our hearts have become numb. Going and coming. So my message, my dear brothers, is that if we want, the topic is how can we help? How can I help my brothers and sisters in Palestine and Gaza, especially right now? As I mentioned, 2.3 Muslims will be annihilated, destroyed in the next few days if we don't make a strong dua and Allah's miracle does not come down. If each and every it only takes one man from the bottom of his heart to pour his heart out and cry one tear, just by one tear, feeling bad for your brothers and sisters in Gaza. It takes one tear to change the entire history of what's going on right now. But the question is, who's going to do it? Who really cares? That's why, my dear brothers, sisters, in Islam, this gathering is not a joke. This is a wake-up call. The wake up to reality. You know, sometimes you hear in funny YouTube videos, the end is near, the day of judgment is coming. No, my brothers, let me tell you something very scary right now. The day of judgment is really near. You want to know how? I'll tell you right now. Who knows who Imam Mahdi is? Raise your hand. Okay, so let me just explain to you guys. Imam Mahdi, he's already here, but he's not exposed yet. And Imam Mahdi is supposed to be that person in Islam where when the Muslims are at their lowest point in their life, meaning the Muslim countries and the government and all the Muslims, majority of the Muslims are at their lowest point in life, and the Muslims are struggling and going through pain, and everywhere you go, Muslims are being hated and everything. That is when Imam Mahdi will come out. And one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, to start is when Al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, but for us as Palestine, when the Jews will take over Palestine, that is one of the major signs of the Day of Judgment. So now you and I want you to think about it. Right now, 54 countries, and not a single country stands up completely ready for war to help Palestine. All the Muslims are scared. Masjid al-Aqsa in Palestine, Jerusalem, it almost looks like it's about to be taken over. And then Imam Mahdi, right? He will come out and he is someone who will bring back victory to Islam. He's the one who's going to prepare the enemy. He's the one who's going to prepare the army. Because right when Imam Mahdi comes out, right, Isa alayhi salam will tell Imam Mahdi that prepare the army for Dajjal. And if you guys don't know who Dajjal is, I hope you guys learn, because time is short. But Dajjal will come, and Dajjal will come to each and every single one of you. And he's not going to ask you, who Who is your Rabb? Who is your Lord? Dajjal will come and he will confuse you and make you believe that he is Lord. He is going to make someone, he is going to give life to someone, he's going to give death to someone and then give life. And if you're a weak believer, you're going to say, you are my Lord Dajjal. So you ask yourself right now that the day of judgment is right around the corner. Right around the corner. What type of faith are you having in your life? What type of faith do you have in your heart? Are you ready to answer and meet Dajjal? Are you going to be amongst the weak believers or the strong believers? Because I tell you one thing, you see all these Muslims that are quiet right now, all these Muslims that are quiet and acting like nothing is going on, acting like nobody is dying, acting like turning their backs on their own brothers and sisters in Palestine. I tell you one thing, you may hide right now, and you may get away right now, and you may have a smile on people's back, and people may think you're the heroes, but I promise you, when you meet Allah, that is the day that you will stare. Your eyes will stare in horror, and your eyes will stare in the punishment and wrath of Allah. And you will forget about every happiness that you had in this life. These are for the people who are forgetting their Muslim brothers and sisters in Gaza that are paining right now. But my question to you and my answer to you is, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, now that we're here and we can show, and we are here as a testimony and as a witness to Allah and the people of Palestine and Gaza, that you are not alone and we are here. And even though we're not there, but our hearts remain with you and our du'as and prayers remain with you every single day. And no matter how much they try to brainwash us and they try to confuse and lie to us, that the terrorists are Palestinians or Muslims, no matter how much they want to lie to us, we will never, ever, ever forget Palestine in our hearts.
Takbir.
Because Palestine is for the Muslims, not for the Jews. They are welcome to live there, but it is not for the Jews, it's for the Muslims. As you guys can see, every single one of us sitting down here, some of us didn't know what was going on. But now all of us know what's going on, the oppression that's happening in Palestine. And all of us now know what our job is. And what is our job? What can we do to help? Because we can't physically go there and help. Although I wish I can, and I can die as a martyr, because that's my easiest way to Jannah, because I won't be questioned when I stand in front of Allah. I wish I can go there. I promise you. I take an oath by Allah, I wish I could be there. Because the life that I'm living right now, I don't believe I'm going to go to Jannah. And I'm scared to stand in front of Allah. I wish I could be there. So the question is, what can we do right now? Number one, keep raising your voices. They want you to forget about Palestine. Let them know we are, all of us are Palestinians. You don't have to be a Palestinian to care about Palestine. You just have to be a real Muslim to care about Palestine. It is probably 90% Uzbek, brothers from Uzbekistan here. Let me ask you a question. If this was going on in Uzbekistan right now, and your cousins and your moms and your dads or your uncles that are living in Uzbekistan, and they're about to die right now, and they're about to be ethnically cleansed and a genocide and massacred, and nobody will remember them in history, would you just sit down there and swipe a few videos and just act like nothing is happening? Or would you want to raise your voice for them and make sure that the whole world remembers them because they were oppressed? But look at the double standards. Just because they're not Uzbeks or they're not our type and they're Palestinians, who cares? Yeah, there are Muslim brothers who feel bad. But the moment that it is our families and our cousins and our people we know, we're ready to stand up. Look at the lowest type of faith that we have. Because the Prophet ﷺ, you should feel it in your heart. You should feel it. That when you watch these videos, immediately you should be in tears. Because you should imagine that that's your little brother and that's your sister that's being raped and tortured for no reason. Just because they wanted to protect their land and their children. And just because they're Muslim. You should feel it. And you should make dua for them. As I mentioned, your one dua comes a long way, and it is more powerful than any bullets or any rocket launchers or anything that they have. This gathering right now, you see this gathering, this powerful gathering, this hurts your enemies more than a bullet, more than a bomb, more than a grenade. Because this is exactly what they don't want us to do. They don't want us to remember Palestine. They don't want us to remember the people, our brothers and sisters, getting oppressed there. They want us to forget about them. They want us to think that they never existed. And they want us to think that they're the real terrorists. But the real terrorists are the Zionists and the Jewish regime. They know who they are. And no matter how much you want to brainwash us, and no matter how much you want to post on social media, we will always remember who the true heroes and the martyrs and the true believers in Islam was. Right now. And those are the Palestinians. And we will remember them until our last breath. Just like how we remember our loved ones. Because there is no difference in being a Palestinian, or Uzbek, or Bengali, or Pakistani. We are all one. Anyone who carries this kalima in your heart, that is your brother in pain and suffering. So you should at least have some type of heart and feel bad and make dua for them. Because if you're someone who just feels bad and goes on with his day, then I tell you one thing, your mother has failed you. And your father has failed you as a child. That simple. Our brothers and sisters in Gaza, right now, at this moment, have no food, have no electricity, have no water, have no sustenance. But you know what they have in their heart and they're holding on to? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the faith that they're living and striving and walking through the alleys and the streets of Gaza right now. That no rocket and no bomb and no bullet and no Zionist or no people can harm us if Allah's protection is with us. And if Allah wants us to die, so be it. Because Allah has a place for us in Jannah, inshallah. So take me. The difference between the Zionists and the IDF soldiers and the Muslim soldiers is only one difference. That the IDF, Israel soldiers, when they go in war, they're scared of dying. But when the Muslims go for war, they see Jannah in the barrel of their gun and they're ready to go. Because they know in their heart why they're fighting and what they're fighting for. And that is true justice, nothing else. They're not fighting to take over someone else's land. They're not fighting to kill children, innocent children. They're not fighting to become better in society or get a position in society. They're only fighting for their land. That's theirs. And they're fighting to protect their children. And even when they're at war, they listen and they obey the commands of the prophets, which is do not harm any children, do not harm the women, and do not harm the elderly. And you see it. None of them harmed any children. None of them harmed any elderly people or women. But look at the opposite side. The IDF, the Israel soldiers. How many of them killed innocent people? Brutally massacred children. And they're taking a piss and they're laughing and kicking their bodies. And then they want to show you on social media that we are the real heroes, that we are democratic people, that we are the people of peace. And they want to brainwash you. And then they want to make you feel that the real terrorists and the real bad people are Hamas and the Palestinians. And they use the excuse of destroying Hamas to destroy the entire city. Exactly what happened to 1 million Iraqis a few years ago. So my brothers and sisters, we've spoken of the final message to all of you is number one, keep spreading this news. Raise your voices out loud and make sure you remember your brothers and sisters in Palestine, you know. And most importantly, final message is that, as I mentioned in the Quran, Allah will not help the people of Palestine or the Muslims in Gaza unless you and I change ourselves. So start from right now. If you have an issue praying, start finding your way to prayer. If you don't pray, start praying right now. If you eat like a dog in McDonald's and you eat whatever haram food is out there, start eating halal food. If you don't know how to read the Quran, start learning how to read the Quran. Read like a page or half a page a day. And keep immersing yourself and keep pushing yourself to be a better Muslim, because Allah said it in His book that I will not change the condition of the ummah unless they start changing the conditions of themselves. So we need to stop living like dogs and animals and doing whatever we wish. We're not here like dogs and animals. We have a priority, we have a purpose in our life. And it's not being the richest person, and it's not having the most beautiful wife or the houses. It's by making Allah happy the way He wants us to make Him happy, which is by following His basic commands, which is praying 5 times a day, reading some Quran, learning about Islam and Deen. And then you may do whatever you want in life. It's not something hard. So if you don't know how to pray, come learn how to pray. The same way you search your music and raps on YouTube, the same way start finding how to pray. There's no excuse for anything. Don't let today's message, my dear brothers, don't just go home and go to sleep and just say, I have the best khutbah in my life, I have the best bayan and moment and night in my life, and then you forget about Palestine, and you forget about what was said over here, which was, remember your brothers and sisters in Gaza, because guess what? Guess what? If you don't remember your brothers and sisters in Gaza, and you don't remember your brothers and sisters across the world, Muslims that are suffering, I promise you, and I swear to you, there will come a day when you will go through the hardest moments in your life, and you will be in the lowest moments in your life, and you will cry and beg and scream to Allah for help, and Allah will leave you in the mud, in the dirt. Because you were silent when your brothers were going through pain, and you acted like nothing was happening. So just like how you forgot Allah and you forgot about the ummah, Allah will make sure that He forgets about you and nobody remembers you. And that is the message to all these scholars and all these imams and all these motivational speakers or Islamic scholars that want to stand up here and talk about Islam and everything, when the real Islam is standing up for your brothers and sisters. That is the real Islam. All that other stuff is up to them. But the level of faith to stand up here and speak about Palestine and Gaza, they know who they are. And prepare and wait for the day that you meet Allah. So my brothers, I'm not going to take much before we start our dua, inshallah, with our Shaykh and our Imam. Just two things, my brothers and sisters in Islam, beloved youth. Just remember these two things, and I promise you, inshallah, if you try your best to do these two things, inshallah, when we stand in front of Allah and the millions of Palestinian young children and kids and fathers and moms, when you stand in front of them, they won't point their fingers at us and saying they were one of them that was silent when we were dying. But rather, they will come and hug us and kiss us and tell us that I remember your du'as came in. I remember you. And they will embrace us. And we will be saved from the punishments. So let's do these two things. What are these two things, my brothers? Number one, keep spreading. Don't be brainwashed by social media. Keep spreading. Keep talking about what's going on in Palestine. If these celebrities and if LeBron James and these celebrities and these superstars are not scared about speaking about Israel and supporting Israel, then why should we be scared of speaking about Palestine? If they're not scared, why should we be scared? So that's what you got to think about. Don't be a bum and a bozo and just live your life like an animal. Your life has a meaning. Each and every single one of you have a meaning and a purpose in your life. And each and every single one of you, if you raise your hands up, you will see what Allah does for you, what He did for the greatest of the greatest in the past for them. So two things. Time is short. Number one, keep spreading awareness and educate yourself about this matter. Don't let social media and the news brainwash you. And number two, start changing your life. Start becoming better Muslims. The day of judgment is very soon. It's not a joke. You don't want to die as a disbeliever. Start changing your life and try to become better Muslims. Start right now. Start right now. And come to us, come to the people that can help you. And finally, let us always remember our brothers and sisters in Palestine and Gaza and overall all the Muslims that are going through oppression in their life. And let us all make dua for every single one of them. Because guess what? I tell you one thing, that they may have victory right now, but the final victory is for the Muslims. The last laugh, they can enjoy their small victory right now, but Allah says in the Quran, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, that indeed for the true believers is the final victory. And you know why this is not a lie? You know why this is true? Because Allah and His Messenger has said this, and they are never wrong. So inshallah, let us all remember our brothers and sisters in Palestine. We're going to make dua. I want everyone to say Ameen after every dua, inshallah. So you never know which one of your Ameen may help your brothers over there. So really say it from the heart. Don't just close your eyes. Say Ameen from your heart loudly. And mean it from your heart, inshallah. I give this mic to inshallah beloved Shaykh.
اولین چیزی که ما میتونیم کمک کنیم برای برادرامون اول توبه کردن پیش الله و اصلاح نفسی خود اصلاح دنیا رو تغییر دادن خود انسان نفسش رو تغییر کنه و توبه الی الله جمیعا ایها المؤمنون اول توبه کنیم دوم چیزی که از دست ما ضعیفانه قرار نیست پس ما به دعا کنیم شما میگین ان شاء الله امیدواریم که از لطف کرم خداوند حداقل پرس دعای ما آمین. اللهم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم يا بديع السماوات والأرض، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين. اللهم عليك بأعدائك وأعداء الدين، اللهم عليك بأعدائك وأعداء الدين، اللهم عليك بأعدائك وأعداء عبادك المؤمنين الموحدين في فلسطين. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم عليك باليهود المعتدين في فلسطين والغزو. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم، اللهم اخذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم اخسف بهم الأرض يا حي يا قيوم. اللهم إنا نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العليا أن تنصرنا وأن تنصر إخواننا في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين، اللهم ثبت أقدامهم، اللهم انصرهم وثبت أقدامهم، اللهم انصرهم بنصرك المبين، اللهم انصرهم بنصرك المبين. اللهم اجعل إخواننا العزة والقوة والغلبة والنصرة والهيبة. اللهم ارزقهم النصرة، اللهم ارزقهم الغلبة، اللهم ارزقهم العزة، اللهم ارزقهم الهيبة، اللهم ارزقهم القوة. اللهم أسبغ عليهم بردا وسلاما، اللهم أسبغ عليهم بردا وسلاما. اللهم سدد رميهم، اللهم سدد رميهم وآمن روعاتهم. اللهم سدد رميهم، اللهم انصرهم بنصرك المبين. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم كن لإخواننا عونا ونصيرا. اللهم إنا نستودعك غزوة، اللهم إنا نستودعك غزو أهلها، اللهم إنا نستودعك نساءها وأطفالها، اللهم إنا نستودعك كبارها وصغارها، اللهم إنا نستودعك شبانها وشيبانها، اللهم إنا نستودعك مقاتلها ومجاهدها. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا الذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم انصر إخواننا وتقبل شهداءهم، اللهم ارحم أمواتهم، اللهم داوي جراحهم واشفي مرضاهم. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والأعلى جنة الفردوس ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. وصلى الله على خير محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.